You're listening to Around the Curve Table. Come join the Common Sense Nation.
Greetings, welcome to Around the Curve Table, where we discuss things from the ladies' point of view. I'm Gwen, and this is my co-host Brenda. Around the Curve Table, we typically discuss things we've seen recently, news from the last few weeks, things we find interesting from the last few months. Next, play a clip of a submission sent in from a segment of our show called Show Us Your Patriotism, where viewers will send in submissions of their talent. Then we'll go to the roundtable discussion, where we speak with a panelist from our round table, which is made up of amazing ladies online from all over the country. This week, we'll discuss toxic masculinity. So join Brenda and I now as we discuss recent happenings, starting with President Trump's request to fortify the borders with a wall on the southern border.
The most important part, I think, if I can interject here, Brenda, is that the president vetoed it.
Yeah, so from there, then it's just a matter if the Senate gets enough votes to overrule that. So, which hopefully it's not going to happen, because obviously it's really important for us to protect our borders.
Right.
You know.
I think the majority of us, citizens, are actually are working, or we're hard at work working, but some of us have to get off our rear ends and make sure that those of us, at least that are near Washington, let our voices be heard.
Right, because if your senator voted it down, then you should be complaining about it.
Right.
Because unless you do that, even a quick phone call or an email for the people that don't like talking on the phone, that's a quick email or whatever, let them know what you think so that way they don't vote against it.
I agree.
Because, it's really important to, their job is to protect and serve the actual constituency, which is the American citizen.
That's true. That's exactly true. I belong to a couple of those groups online that specifically say, if you agree with this topic, we've already, either you can sign this petition, or we already have a pre-diagrammed letter that all you do is sign, and they'll fax it, they'll email it, they'll do old school.
Right.
And then your voice is actually out there.
Right, and a lot of times it's just like silence is consent. You know what I mean?
True, unfortunately.
So, yeah. And
silence is also submission.
Right.
So a lot of people
but
don't think about
that's how they look at it, is, well, they didn't hear about a lot of complaints, so, their decisions goes. It doesn't matter, what other people say, but if you don't get your voice out there, nobody hears it, So.
Exactly. Amen.
So did you see about the Nancy Pelosi talking about the impeachment and no impeachment? What did this week?
Yes, I know she's getting a lot of backlash from the, from the rest of the Democrat Party. The idea that she actually said, no, I'm not going to vote for impeachment.
What do you?
They talk about death by 1,000 cuts. The idea that she has some greater plan for the president, and she's going to draw it out until the election. I believe I heard that from Jamie, and it totally made sense. But if nothing else, bravo for her for not caving.
Right,
even if she's
understandable. So
later.
I don't know if that was related to like the testimonies that came out recently. Like, I don't know if you've seen the representative from Georgia, Collins.
Okay.
He had released on his webpage the sworn testimonies from the Judiciary Committee that he's on, where it was the transcripts from the interviews that they did with Lisa Page from the FBI, Bruce Orr from the DOJ, and Peter Strzok from the FBI.
Okay.
Because, they were interviewed in regards to the whole Russian conspiracy type of thing.
Right.
And so I don't know if it was related to that. Maybe she's seen those ahead of time, and maybe that's what it was tied into. But from what I understood is that the transcripts from Bruce Orr first came out, and they kind of showed that how he kind of worked with his, wife sharing information, though she was working for
about that.
An agency outside of that, and you're not supposed to follow those things. You're supposed to go with how the FBI wants information acquired. You shouldn't get it from your wife and then give it to whatever. It has to go through official channels,
right,
or else it's like a backroom deal. So I know there was a testimony in regards to that. I didn't read the whole thing, but I heard about that. And then the other one was like Lisa Page. One of the things in her testimony that a lot of people have been talking about is that she had testified that the Department of Justice, under Obama's Department of Justice, had mentioned to the FBI and to her that they should not be pursuing Hillary Clinton in regards to the whole mishandling of information via her email server, and not to follow that route. So they already, like, when they wanted to go through and, actually investigate that further and put some charges forth, they said they're not going to do it, so to stop that whole thought process and, like, put a hold on them from doing that. So,
I see.
If it was me or you, the FBI goes full steam. They don't just, it's someone that's running for president,
right?
And they're powerful.
They run into your home and have the older woman sitting on the curb in her pajamas,
right,
or on her house coat as they try to arrest. Was that Stone?
Yeah, right, Stone.
Don't get me started.
And then I don't know if it was Peter Strzok's one, or if I think it was tied to Peter Strzok's emails where he had interview. Sorry, not emails, but where he had mentioned that pretty much the Clinton's lawyers worked with the DOJ to say what emails that they could look at it on the server. Now, get this, everything, when you have classified information on your server, let's say it was me, I have a classified information that I'm storing at my home on a server, that's illegal for me to do.
Right.
So if I did that, then the FBI can just come in and seize the whole thing. But not for Hillary.
Right.
What they did was they talked to her lawyers and said, well, you can look at this parts, but not that part. So, and you can only do a search, using keywords, like you search your online,
right,
like your Outlook Explorer box, where you just put in keywords and look for certain things. But if it came up anything related to the Clinton Foundation, they can't look at it. Now, that's the whole thing when the question is, are they doing pay for play?
right?
How would you verify that? Other than that might show that she shared illegally, some of these protected documents with other agencies,
right,
for money, So I just don't get that,
Great point. Yeah, I understand.
So, what were you thinking about when you heard about the AOC, or explain what you were thinking about? What is her name? Alexandria or
Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah, Ocasio-Cortez. She's been in the news lately.
Oh, with
lot.
the new Green Deal?
Yeah, with the new Green Deal. You know what I mean?
Evidently, in 12 years, we'll all be extinct, or we'll all be dead.
Okay.
So, does it make a difference?
Yeah, so...
just for anybody listening, that's a bunch of BS. It's just all something to scare the hell out of all of us.
Well, it's kind of ridiculous when you're like, well, no planes, get rid of cows. So
right.
That means, like, all your trips will be via a boat,
Well, you can't go overseas unless you're on some sort of a magical train that can fly over water.
Wow.
The idea is just ridiculous. The idea that it even would refer to cows' flatulence. I don't. Right. As I understand, she won some sort of open casting call that they were looking for an individual to be the face.
Oh, you seen that, like, as a
I
rumor
did.
or
So,
whatever?
I understand that her brother actually entered her.
Oh, really?
Into it. So that's the idea that she was a bartender behind the behind the bar, and that was her experience.
Right.
That was That was the gist of it all.
Yeah, I mean, some people argue, well, President Trump, he's never been a politician, but at least he has business experience, But you're talking about somebody that I know before they had a GoFundMe, because she said, like, even though her parents are rich, that she couldn't afford to buy an apartment or a condo or whatever in the area that she got elected to, oversee. But so they started a GoFundMe to try to raise money to help her to buy her apartment or whatever. That was at least the thought before that. But regarding the Green Deal, P.S., plants like carbon dioxide and change it into oxygen. So I don't know.
Beautiful. There's some intelligence for you, AOC. What do they call her? Occasional cortex, that she occasionally uses her brain. That's just between you and I suppose the rest of the world now.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever look at some of the Turning Point USA ads that they have on there. I think Candace Owens is part of that movement. And one of the ads that I seen this last week was talking about, since so many people like AOC want to push socialism.
Of course.
One of the ads that they've been running was more talking about, we had a Native American woman that was the spokesperson for a video clip that they had.
Okay.
And she had said that, for any of those Americans out there that are considering socialism's a great thing for the U.S., despite all the failing things that have occurred in other countries, she was like, you don't have to look further than the U.S. already, because look at any Native American Indian reservation, and that is socialism. So since they've been, made to stay in certain areas that are given to them as their reservations, and money is given to them by the billions each year, that is socialism. And a lot of these areas that the people are living in, they don't have running water, they don't have sewage, etc. And we're in the 2019, and that means they're not even having that, and those are like regular services people should be having, especially if you're trying to help them keep their heritage. How do you hinder people like that? So her pitch for that was, for the people that think that's the best thing, it's not the best thing. If you pour more billions in, which they've done over the past, nothing's gotten better.
Well, the idea that individuals don't even realize that it's, just look at history. It starts with socialism, it ends in communism.
Right.
They perhaps they're not teaching that on the books in schools these years, since, the 60s, with the new curriculums, that sort of thing. Just look at what's going on in Venezuela. People can say, oh, no, that's the idea that how they can sweep it under the rug.
Well, you see, like, some clips where some people are like, oh, there's plenty of food at the store. These people that are digging out of garbage cans and starving to death, that's not really happening.
They're begging for people to drop it, for chickens to drop an egg from behind.
Right.
When they realize they can't even afford one. They're literally drinking, some of them are literally drinking from sewage.
Yeah, and that's what they show. But
they're eating their dogs and their cats.
They're showing conflicting stories.
They already broke into the zoos, and I just pray for these people.
Yeah, that's really sad.
It's just the children. The children there, the parents, the fact that the fat cats are reaping the benefits, and that they would allow this to happen in their country.
Right. Well, even if you look at like movies over time, and if you're not looking at like actual history book, let's say you never seen a history book, okay, and you look at a story about Russia or wherever else where it started off as socialism and it became communism over time, what's typically happens is everybody's waiting in a line for food or whatever, rations, but there's always the fat cats at the top that are the leaders,
right?
And they have everything, So if you're friends with them, you get your perks.
Yeah, They also rub shoulders and or elbows with the celebrities,
right? And
make it all look glamorous. Oh, socialism, you'll love it.
Right. Well, but the same people that are arguing for that are against the 1%. Don't they have a 1%? It's
exactly.
Just looked at as the leaders as the 1%. So I don't know. I don't really get it.
Madeline, She's 14 years old, from Indiana.
Share your voice. Share your spirit. Show us your patriotism.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
That was beautiful.
Great
Way
job.
to go, Addie.
Great job.
Adeline, we know what you're going to be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
An amazing, amazing singer.
Mm-hmm. I would have been really nervous. She did a great job.
She did. Now you too can be involved. We want to hear from you guys. You have a submission to send in to us. Everybody has everybody has their own expression of their patriotism.
Right.
I don't care if you paint it on the side of your car. If you tap dance for me, whatever you want to submit your...
Everybody's got a different talent.
It's the truth.
So show
Ladies,
what your
gentlemen,
talent is.
gentlemen, I know there's a couple of you out there listening. A couple of you guys told me that they said, I know it's women's topics, but I can't. Of course, the more the merrier. Men are invited to listen as well.
Yes.
So, whether it be you're singing the song for us, you wrote a poem, you made a clip.
You can play it on the spoons.
Exactly. Show us your patriotism. It's not a bad word.
Not at all.
It's not a bad word. Wait a second. Do you hear that?
I do.
You know what that means? That a little bit of medieval music tells me that it's time to go to the round table. Today we have some special topics, and you're going to log in shortly?
Yep, we'll be logging into the podcast section, and we'll see who can join us today to discuss our topic, which is toxic masculinity.
I can't wait
So
on
I'm
this one.
really excited to hear what everybody has to say, and looking forward to that discussion.
I love the idea that we can get women from around the country, depending on your availability. Everybody, you're a busy lady. We get that. So whomever the lady is that can log in this week, and then we can actually discuss something as important as this. Because right now, I think this is being swept under the rug. That was it that I want to say it was New York Times, the writer, she called, she said she wanted to see white men suffer. She refers to the police and the white men she wants to see suffer. So with that sort of mentality out there,
Right.
it's, I can't imagine that being out there without actually opening up my voice.
Right.
Opening up my mouth and telling all the other individuals out there, the young ladies that might be listening,
Right.
this is
That's
ridiculous.
The thing. And that's the same thing. If you don't speak your mind politely,
as a lady,
then quietness is more
Right.
like consent. So we'll see you in the podcast.
we'll see you then. Otherwise, you might have to elbow them. But yeah, we'll see you.
Can
We're back. Our first speaker today is Nicole Jenkins, aka Nikki J. She's a political media person and campaign strategist. Nicole Jenkins from St. Louis, how are you this week? Great to have you.
Hey, how are you?
Doing great, doing great. Well, this week, our first topic, we're just going to delve right into it. I know it. It's been in the news, been in the media. It's toxic masculinity.
Oh wow.
Yeah, how about that? We go right to the throat. Brenda, will you kind of give us the take on what they believe toxic masculinity is these days?
Right. Nowadays, they kind of believe that it's violence, sex, aggression, strength. Men should not be showing any emotions. It's all about dominance and being aggressive towards other men and other people. A lot of people really started thinking about it more recently when they seen that Gillette commercial. Have you seen that commercial, Nicole?
Yeah.
You know, and so there was that boys will be boys clip that's in there. And so, and you see the fighting and a lot of different things that are going on with that. And that brought it to the forefront for a lot of people really didn't pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. You know, in the past when it's been mentioned, but seeing an ad doing that, a lot of people were, you know, talking about that on the news and then also on social media.
Oh, definitely.
And saying how, you know, is that really what men are about? And, you know, it's kind of also like a stereotype, you know, like if you think of different men's movies, you know, like the Expendables or different things, and you see, you know, violence being pushed. So, but I don't think that really defines our society. And it's also kind of generalizing what it means to be masculine, but that's not really what, you know, masculinity is. That's like the end, one far end of it. I mean, yes, there's some people that can, you know, be a little bit over the top with that. But then at the same token, some people have looked at it and said, well, really, today there's less of that toxic masculinity. Maybe you see some examples, you know, out there, but then there's a lot of people that would think the opposite, that, you know, there's a lot more of the younger men are less likely to approach ladies and ask for dates or have that, and they're more connected to their emotions.
And that's the one, let me just interject here. The one thing about their, they said that toxic masculinity can lead to mental health issues. Okay, so that's one thing. One of their main concerns is stoicism. They're saying that the men don't show their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and I also think with the man not showing his emotions, and let's take it back to a young boy. So now we have this whole thing about toxic masculinity. And when you have a young boy not showing his emotions, afraid to cry, afraid to love, that leads to, because that's really what it leads to. When you're afraid to cry and when you think you have to be so macho and that you're not normal, you're not like everyone else, you know, you have to be this guy that to the world, you know, you're hiding in a shadow. Right. And hiding in the shadow, it isn't good for anyone. So that behavior, it goes into a teenager, and then it goes to adulthood. And then with that's, you know, I hear a lot of women saying that, you know, this guy isn't good, you know, he's a, you know what, you know, and I gotta say it on this podcast, but you know what I'm saying, you know, he's a jerk. Right. And that might not be, it might be that at a very early age, the toxic masculinity, you know, he was taught that, you know, and taught to be this person, you know, those traits and those characters. And also, I've ran into men that they're good men, but they are afraid to love. And toxic masculinity, it plays a part and a role in that. And so that behavior, it carries over into their love life, into their personal life, and their social life. And then you get to where nobody wants to be around them. They can't keep relationships because they are afraid to love. And the first time, they do love deep inside of their hearts, they don't know how to present themselves to ladies. And so that's a relationship that's cut off if they don't have a patient woman. So it's not a good thing. I think that mental health is real. I think that people don't understand that, and toxic masculinity, it can cause that. And we are human, men and women. We hurt.
Oh, yeah.
We bleed.
I completely agree that we are human as far as that goes. My big thing with toxic masculinity, it feels to me like it's more of a farce that they're trying to push down the throats to scoop out the patriarchal aspect of our lives. The whole children can be raised by a village.
Yes.
Now, individuals that are usually statistically the most well balanced have two parents in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, usually that child has a role model. It needs a role model in his life, and that's where the father comes in.
Yes.
And I feel like this is a way for them to undermine the father's position in our culture. They're saying we don't need a father, and we don't. If you have these things, if you're stoic, if you are warrior-like, if you are what's the phrase, overly. In the 70s, you used to be machismo. Yeah. You were macho man. Now they say that that's toxic. To me, that is usually it's a sign of a strong man. It's usually the sign of a man that is going to watch over my back, and they're usually the ones that run into battle, and that they actually protect the village. So the idea that what is this agenda? Why are they trying to push this narrative down our throats? That's how I feel.
Right, and I kind of see where you're saying, and I agree that rape, not a good thing. No, nobody argues that. Violence against people. There's bullies that are female, male. It's not a good thing. We see it all the time online or even on news stories. There's people bullying constantly. Right. That's not a good thing, definitely. And like the violence aspect, but right. Like you mentioned about undermining it. If you just think historically, is the role of different people in the family? Not to be patriarchal, but even if you look at Native cultures, typically some people were hunters. Some people were doing gathering food, defending their clan from marauders, etc. Right. So, and it was typically the men, but not always. Sometimes women did that role. But if you say, yes, part of that's if you go over the top is aggression, that's not good. But a defensive posturing, who doesn't want somebody to stand up for them, their mate? Right. If I have a husband, I would like, if something is going to happen to me, he's going to stand up and help defend me and protect me. Not that I need protecting, but at some point, it's good to have somebody else that has your back and is looking forward to, looking over you and your children to make sure that things don't happen. And that's it from a historical kind of view, but I know I'm a strong woman, but that doesn't mean it doesn't help. Doesn't hurt to have a strong partner that's going to defend me, right. And look at those things. But at the same token, on the emotional side, I agree what you said. There's most of the time when, especially when you're first in relationships with people, you're kind of like, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? And sometimes guys don't want to share that. So I get that because maybe they were taught to, be a little bit stronger, but typically over time when people get to know you, then kind of show those things because they let that mask down to show their emotion. It's the problem if you don't have that.
Okay, I understand that. If I can just interject real quick, when you mentioned about some of those traits about being over the top, when you're a man or a woman, you're just a jerk, you know? But before you used to just be labeled a jerk or the D word. Now they say, and I don't mean Democrat, the other one, that's between your legs. But they would just call them that. And then we as women usually kind of, you know, let each other in on, you know, in our social circle, he's a real playboy. You know, you don't want to mess with that guy.
And you know what? Playboys are not, you know what I found out with dating, the real playboys are really the soft ones. They are the ones that we label the real playboys. Mm-hmm. I used to date a guy. I was told he was like a huge playboy, right? Oh. He probably was the softest man that I've ever dated, right? And he was not a playboy. He was a coward. Excuse my language. I'm sorry.
Okay, I understand.
Masculinity is something that he didn't have. He could not identify with himself. He didn't know who he was. He was confused. He was scared to jump out, you know, scared to love. He had some real issues.
Okay, I can understand that.
And he dated, and when I look back, the women that he dated, they were narcissists. And because he was a coward, he dated narcissists, hard worker, good guy, but a coward. And he was a guy that would stay in relationships with narcissists. So when he met a woman like me that's laid back, patient, you know, just, I don't want to control you.
Right.
It was a little bit too much for him. So like, how do you answer that question?
I see what you're saying. To me, I'm going to roll it back to the fact that as a regular woman, I'm not looking for the overly.
Have you noticed that the guys that's supposed to be the playboys and those are the soft ones. Those are the ones that are. What is that? Is that like a psychological thing or what is it?
I don't know.
There's a word for that. It's not toxic masculinity. We have to come up with a word for that.
There you go. Invent the word.
How about European men that usually wear like the tight pants? You know, more the
what's that word? The metrosexual kind of look.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
When you're saying the softer, okay, maybe the metrosexual type thing. But I think I see what you're saying. Maybe we went off topic, but
that's how it goes. That's how it goes. But I totally get that, you know, but it depends. Like you said, what your relationship is. Each person had good or bad experiences, and that's definitely the case, you know. So I don't know.
I know essentially the big thing with, like you had mentioned about the hunters, some men are hunters. Mm-hmm. I think there should be a medium and you know, like a place where we all come to on the same, somewhere that, let me explain the fact that the individual is machismo, the individual is, can get warrior-like, can be overly protective. Those are all the traits that I actually find pretty sexy in a man. I usually want a man to take charge.
Well,
I look too. Those type of things are what maybe these ladies in the news are just people that like to just run over their men. I want a man that's going to buckle horns with me and it's, you know, they're not going to overly dominate me, but they're still not going to be led around by their nose by me either. I want to respect the man. And if I respect him enough, I'm a woman. I'm usually going to be a little bit more submissive. It's just in my nature.
Right. Well, you want to be partners.
Right. You know? Exactly.
So, and that's the thing is mutual respect. So that's the hard part, is finding that.
And I have no problem sitting in the back seat if that warrior's going to charge into battle. He's looking over, over the battle lines for us all. That's the way I look at it. It feels like to me that they're trying to scoop out these toxic men out, or excuse me, these overly masculine men out of our lives, which I look at it as these warriors in our lives that are there to protect us.
We need men that are masculine. We do. We need that. As a woman, you want to feel protected. You don't want someone that you feel that, if I go outside and someone's attacking me, he's just gonna watch. He's just gonna stand there. You want. And back in the day, the American dream was the picket fence, the wife, she took care of the house, and you had a man that protected that wife and that family. Mm-hmm. So I think there's nothing wrong with a man protecting, a woman or a man being masculine, but he's a man, he's supposed to be masculine, And so I think there's a difference between dominance and masculinity. And I think sometimes people get that mixed up, and these definitions, I think they put a little dominance in the toxic masculinity, because there are some men that are very dominant, like they want you to be obedient, and that's a form of abuse.
Oh, I would agree.
Totally, we all agree on
that. When you're a woman and you can't live freely in a relationship, that's abuse, And so what do you call that when you have women that can't live freely in a relationship? But then I think that toxic masculinity, it's like it's a backlash of men that were in toxic relationships from women that abused them, that were narcissists and dominant. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, it could be something like that. Definitely. Yeah. And when
men break down, and women break down, and I think society, I think America they're not making it okay for men to cry, and I think that men, behind closed doors, I have a son. I've seen him cry, and I think that we should encourage that, just because you're a man, you can cry, because you have feelings, and those feelings need to come out, or it becomes a mental issue.
Yeah, there could be a balance. You can let out your emotions and still be the protector. Right. You can still be a soldier.
Right. Other than that, if you're bottling them up, then you're probably going to have rage in the future. You know what I mean? If you keep suppressing, whatever things that are going wrong, or, even with relationships or work or etc., you want to be vocal and express your opinion and show your emotions. If not, then it's going to be a problem. Because when I think of like the toxic masculinity, it kind of reminds me of like those like movies where it shows some like jerk football player and they're just a jerk to everyone and everybody's afraid of them.
Yeah.
And so, but, so I kind of see it as that way, even like a movie from before, like The Breakfast Club or whatever, where the guy's like, I was such a jerk. I taped the guy to, the guy up because I'm a jerk because my dad was a jerk to me. But, to lump all guys together, it's kind of bad,
Right. Well, I think at this time, they're kind of trying to lump, like I said, to me, it feels like there's definitely no overall agenda with, like that Sarah, I believe it was Sarah Jeong, Jeoung, from like the New York Times or something.
Yeah.
She made a reference that she wanted to see, or she wanted to hear all white men suffer. It was like, how does this jump? Why is it about men all of a sudden?
Yeah.
what, you know, in the news. I just don't. I just won't play into that. To me, in the 50s, the men were men, as well as in the 60s and in the 70s and the 90s. Here we are in the 2000s. That's just how they are.
Well, you know what, and I think in society as well as whole, I think that women were on the rise. We are, you know, we are making strides. We are,
right.
We're doing things that we've never society outside of the society norms. You know, we are getting out of the nanny mode. You know, we are becoming business owners, which back in the day that was something that the man did, and the woman, you know, she was at home, you know, with the children, or she worked her part-time job, or she did some sort of community service, right? But society is also making it where we're breaking down men.
Okay.
We are, I feel that it's okay to be strong. I'm a strong woman. I'm tough. I work, you know, I work my butt off. But I don't want to be that woman where I feel like I'm a woman and a man. And in a relationship, I have felt, you know, in past relationships, I felt like I was a woman and a man. And for me, that's not okay, because I just want to be a woman. I don't want to be a man. I don't want to be dominant. I want to be able to speak my mind and say how I feel, but I don't want to be the man in the relationship. And I think society is really, with the different media outlets, these conversations that are taking place, it's making it where it's okay to beat the man down, you know?
Right. You see it on the big screen, even on television. You see that they have a more forceful woman, and then the guy just kind of stands in the background.
Yeah.
And they definitely play up on that. Well, that's a great point.
I mean, we fought for equal rights and everything, which, you know, if you can get different jobs in the field that you want to have, that's great. But we should be lifting each other up instead of pushing people down. And I don't know if part of it's related to a lot of broken homes or divorces, where I see people where they're divorced and they're beating down the guy that was the father, you know, of them, and saying, like, you know, degrading them in front of their kids. So I don't know if that helps to play into that at all.
I was reading an article, and it was written by attorneys.
Okay.
And it said, you know, couples over 50 are that's the fastest divorce rate right now. Couples over 50.
Okay.
That's where their money's coming from, divorce attorneys, family law, divorce attorneys. But let's think about it. We were in this society. So I think society harmed us, but it did us some good as far as community, you know, back in the 70s, back in the 80s, you know, back in the 60s. Well, let's say the 70s and 80s, right? So you got couples over 50 that were married, you know, the 70s and 80s, you know, in the 80s, 90s, you know, and were these couples married to society? Or were these couples married because they were madly in love, right? So, and what I mean by married to society, anybody of substance, right? You get out of high school, you get out of college, you want to start a family, you want to have children, you want to get married, you know, you want that house, you want your car, you want to take care of your family, right? Because that's what society has taught us. And I'm not saying that's that's anything wrong with that, you know, that's of substance, a family of substance, a person of substance. This is what you want. Versus millennials now, they're not marrying quick.
No, they're delaying.
What they want to do, and they're saying, listen, I'm not going to adapt to what you want me to be. I'm not going to adapt to how society is. I'm going to adapt to my feelings, to how I feel, you know? I'm not going to marry because I'm 23 years old with a good job and it's time for me to have children. Right. They're having children later. But then you get these couples that married and adapted to what society wanted, and now they're in their 50s. The men are cheating. the women are cheating. They use the excuse that we're staying together for the children.
Right.
But they are getting divorced at a very fast rate. Or they're going to stay in the marriage and get legally separated, or somebody's going to cheat. And is that right either? They're married to society, and we were married to society, and now it's a different ballpark. So media has harmed us, but then it's did some good for these millennials because they're saying we're a little bit smarter to go with the norm. Because how's that working out for you if you're 50 plus? My parents are 50 plus and they're getting divorced, or both parents are cheating.
Right. I that makes sense. I see your point.
Yeah, definitely.
And then with married to society, you got couples, these high power couples, and they're scared of what people will think of them, and they're going to lose friends. And so, we're going to stay together, but we're not together. We're cheating, or they know I have a boyfriend, or she knows I have a girlfriend, but that's not a marriage.
Right. And that also falls into the whole unhealthy relationships
which falls into cowardless men to men that become cowards, which is what we said.
Right.
Because they're broken down, because they had to get beat down by their friends, by their peers, by their workplace, by everyone, because they have to stay in this relationship because of what society thinks. And that's not right.
No, great point. I agree.
That's a good point. That's a good point. It was something in regards to that. Yeah, because a lot of times that they've focused in some manner, like just so much on their career. And that's, and once the kids are, older, I totally see that where, they're like, what's happening between everybody, you know what I mean? But
well, people that work a lot, what that says, either they're not happy. Majority of a man that works a lot and stays away from home a lot, they're not happy. That's they think that they're covering it up, but they're not. The proof is in the pudding. Now society doesn't pay attention to it. It's like, he's a hard worker. He's,
right.
Nah.
Okay, I see. You feel like
you stand away from that house because you don't want to be at that house. And you are married to society. And especially a man with money. When you continue, how much money does it take to take care of your family?
Depends on how much you spend.
She's spending that money because she knows that's the gift to her for putting up with you, and you guys putting up with each other when you know that you're not in love. When when you come home at night, it's a difference, it's a difference between loving someone and being in love with someone. Right. And just because you love someone, that doesn't mean I love a lot of people because of what I've been through with them. But that doesn't mean that that's the person for me. That's not the spark for me. So if I'm not in love with you, then why would I force myself to live with you? Why would I force myself to sleep in a separate bedroom when you're supposed to be my partner? And that is what's going on in society. And so look at how we watch the media. Oh my God, such and such is broken up. They got divorced. We never saw it coming, right?
Right.
But this is all in the making. This is a marriage that was built on society, married to society.
Well, and they're just, in some manners, it's kind of trying to be part of a status. So I can say, well, I'm married with X kids and etc. But you don't have that emotional connection. And do you think that because of that generation, that it's tied to something emotional? I mean, obviously women are part of that. But do you think from the men's point of view that, there's that emotional thing back in the day, it was, you should, quell what you feel and then just step up and be responsible. And now later in life, they're saying those emotions I suppressed. I'm not happy with where I am. I need to do these other things. I got power, not at home maybe, but at work, by getting a better career or whatever and having so many people underneath me and making lots of money, because a lot of people view money as power, you know.
Oh, that's true. Right.
But money can't buy love, and people do view money as power. But I think it's just some men that's saying, actually, so with the article, it was saying that men don't file for the divorce. It's the woman. A man will stay in the marriage and cheat until he passes.
Oh, wow.
Majority of the time, it's the woman. She's gotten what she can get. She's gotten her children. Her children are raised. Once they're out of high school, it's miserable. She's ready to go, right? She lived a good life. Her children are raised. That's as a mother, that's what's most important to you, your children. You raise your kids. You make sure that they're okay emotionally, physically, mentally. And after that, I'm done. I already know what's going on, but I'm going to make sure that these children are raised right? And with you in this house. And then after that, I'm gone.
Wow. Okay. So maybe
I think you should name this show The Real Curve Talk.
So who's really toxic in the relationship? Wow.
This is like a step up from Dr. Phil.
We're loving it. You're imparting your wisdom on me. I appreciate it.
It's real talk, but it's something that the world, it's somebody that's going to be listening to us.
Right.
Viewers that are going to listen to us and say, they're going to stop in their cars and they're going to say, you know what? They're talking about me.
I identify with this. Right. That's what they're going to say.
And we might just be changing somebody's life for the better because, it's, relationships are hard. They're, and breakups are even harder, but some things just have to happen in order for a person to be happy, And being unhappy, you can never make anyone happy in your life, whether it's your children, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your family, unless you are happiness comes from you first. And if it doesn't come from you, then you can't, you can't make anybody happy. You are going to be so depressed, and you're going to, and if you're in the public eye, you're going to be, how gratifying is being fake to yourself?
Right. It's definitely not. Well, and it's not like they didn't fight for what they wanted. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the thing. So I don't know if that's part of tied to, their upbringing and things that they've seen in the past, because we all are a product of what we've seen in the past and the relationships we've had. So, I was thinking how that it's kind of like they didn't fight for what they wanted. And that's almost like, since toxic masculinity is like aggression, they were, it's not aggression, but
they just laid down and kind of took it.
Yeah.
The 50s mentality was a little different. So they said, I'm just going to accept it. And it just the opposite. They're pushing it way down.
Right. Because if they were honest from the beginning, then everybody wouldn't have that issue because they shared their emotion and,
Well, you said the key word. What we see from our parents, our grandparents, family, friends, neighbors, and things like that, we do bring to our relationships, whether that's a boy or a girl.
Yeah,
so
we do.
If he sees a particular,
violence or something.
Right, exactly. If he sees a particular, what's the phrase? Propensity. If he sees, he'll have the propensity to be that same type of person, and I get that.
Sometimes it's the opposite. Go ahead.
But I think that they just scooped it all in together, and the idea that you can still have good role models in your life as a boy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, understandable. Well, the hard part is, if you want to have that good role model, but if you're not stepping up to do that, then if you're not giving your kid everything that they could have,
Right.
So
and so I think we're going around in circles on this one, but there's one of those, we're all finding our own little niche in this.
Yeah.
And this is just the beginning of a whole hill of conversations for the future.
Oh, definitely.
I can't wait till when everything is down and we all just can talk one-on-one.
We have like 7 topics within this. Toxic masculinity.
It's okay. Well, that's what.
Right.
But it's good. It's good dialogue. It's what people need to hear. We got to be real. I don't know another way. I'm sorry.
No,
that's exactly right.
That's
you have to be real.
If it's hit you, that's what you talk about, because like you mentioned, you never know what you're going to hear. That little nugget that someone needed, and they're like, that did it for me.
Like you said, yeah, that person could be driving in their car and they end up hearing it and go, you know what? That's the situation I'm in right now. And I wondered why I couldn't be happy. I was blaming everybody else but myself.
Because we all live in
things.
My motto is we all live in houses that can shatter.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is glass, nothing is bulletproof. And so we all bleed red. We all live in houses that can shatter. And we have to, we have to respect each other's relationships. We have to respect people and living a lie with yourself is not respecting yourself. It's really not. It's doing more. It's causing more mental health issues. It's causing breakdowns, and I've been there, I'm not afraid to say that I've been there, and some things you just have to let go in order to move forward in your life, in order to be happy. In order for me to have this smile, I know that Nicole Jenkins has to let go of things that are causing hinder to me. And no matter how hard, how hard it is, no matter how it hurts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've been there.
We've all been through, some sort of depression, some sort of hurt, some sort of loss. There's not one person in this world that's hasn't been through that. But there are people that are afraid to stick up and say something, to stand up and say, I've been through that. And so I think that this episode, everything that we discussed, it will help men. Mm-hmm. It will help women. It will help people in relationships make decisions because it should. It will help the men with toxic masculinity. We've covered some great points. We've given some. We should be getting paid as therapists right now.
Well, I think we all agree that you definitely have to have a balance in life.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If the scale teeters one way or the other, you're in trouble.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. That. We should all be able to choose what we want to be. That's the whole, fight for feminism, is, being able to be what you want to be. But if a young boy wants to grow up and be the provider or have these different roles, it shouldn't be counted against them,
That's a great point.
So
that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I just want people to be who they are. And I think, even from the political aspect, this standpoint, it's a lot of bickering, a lot of fighting. I think we have our own beliefs and how we feel. But I also think that we in America, us Americans should be able to, agree on the society norms and, and outside of all party lines, we should be able to come together in agreement on what is fundamentally, good for America. And we have not been able to do that because, you have people that, they dislike the president. But what kills me is before the president was the president, when he was on The Apprentice, people liked him. I never heard him as being labeled as a racist. I never heard him as, I've always heard people say they admire him. He's a businessman, so this is just, and to blame it on President Trump that he's showing the dividedness. One person can't divide the United States of America. It's us as Americans that are dividing the United States of America, and we're dividing it with party lines. And we need to class it up because it's freedom for all. And I don't feel that it has been freedom for all, because the attack of President Trump and Shaquille O'Neal, it's a great art. If you guys get a chance, check it out. And he said, at the end of the day, and so to sum it up, Donald Trump is our president, and we need to give him a chance because he's earned the presidential election. Okay, he's earned that, and I thought that was very courageous of him. And I think everybody should give him a chance because he is the president.
I agree. I think it was just recently that he said, it was, let them hate me instead of you, or something like that.
Yeah.
If he has to be the scapegoat.
Right. If he has to be the scapegoat, then so be it. Which, unfortunately.
And other than that, it's even with this kind of going, sorry to tie it back into what you said, it's dividing. It's divide and conquer. So it's left against right. It's men against women. It's this against that. It's all those kind of things. But that's not how it is. It's like you said, it's pushing a set thing, and it's getting people to look at other people differently. And I don't think that's how it is. I go out and interact with the world every day. I don't see this on a person scale. I see in the news that someone's, you got a red hat on, they're knocking it off and punching you in the face. But,
I suppose it's all, in individual areas. It might be regional. It might be.
Right.
So I can see where you're coming from with that.
But I think it's partly because of that. So it's just a divisive thing,
That definitely is. I think we can all agree that this is another angle for people to divide us.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're out of time. We're going to wrap up. Thank you so much to Nicole Jenkins, aka Nikki J, our lady out there. We're going to wrap up around the curve table. Next time, our topic will be societal norms.
Oh, wow.
So you ready to take us out? Do you hear the music? That means it's closeout time.
That's right.
We'll see you next week, Nikki.
That's right. Bye-bye. See you next week.
Thank you, Nicole.
Bye-bye.
We hear the medieval music. Special thanks to Tristan Lagrahan for his beautiful rendition of the medieval intro. If you'd like to hear more of his music, you can click on the link below. Well, that was a wonderful discussion, Brenda.
Yeah, it was great to hear from everybody, and their points were amazing.
I totally agree. I think she made some wonderful points today.
Did you see, in regards to the New Zealand shooting,
my
which
heart
was
broke.
a tragedy?
It was horrible. Horrific things happened. Unfortunately, they're tying it so much with that individual's manifesto.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is, you never know. All these people that are shooters, whenever they always have find a manifesto. After that,
right.
Maybe they should have did something before that to stop it. But it's a horrific thing, no matter what the person is.
Of course.
They're
trying to tie it in. They're trying to tie it in with Candace Owens and saying that the conservative movement, that this guy was that he believed in that aspect of it. This man was just a psychopath, straight up a psychopath, that he would be able to do something
there's
like that.
Millions of people that have different points of view, and everybody has different points of view, but that doesn't mean I should shoot you. You know what I mean? Or I don't like how your religion is, or whatever. Right. That's, most people can have a decent conversation with people, talk out their differences. They're not gunmen,
right.
or violent, because some of the things it's about, using a knife or killing people. If you're a violent person, you're going to kill them with your hands. You're going to kill them with a knife. You're going to run them over with a car. We've seen that before, where people got ran over with a van. It's not about the gun, but that's what they kind of push it as when you look at like Chicago.
Oh, exactly. Like Jamie mentioned last week.
Okay.
Or earlier this week, I believe he was talking, or recently, he was talking about that this sort of thing happens, unfortunately, in Chicago. They lose so many people a week. That's over 2 weeks.
Right.
We would probably lose about 49 people.
Right, and
that's pushed down in the bylines. If it's not for their agenda,
right.
if it doesn't fit the narrative, then it gets pushed down way into the bylines.
Right. Well, that's the thing is, if you live in Chicago, there are so many gun laws already, and so it's not the people that are law-abiding citizens that would go with whatever. If you're a criminal, it doesn't matter how many rules are against that. Same thing if you're a drug dealer. Drugs are illegal, but still there's drug dealers.
Right.
So
criminals
are criminals. So it doesn't matter what rules are on the books. If you're going to buy a black market gun, you're going to buy a black market gun. Doesn't matter if it's illegal in your town. It just affects the people that want to protect themselves. So when you're out on the street, someone pulls a gun on you, that's because they're not worried about you shooting back at them,
Right.
I mean, back in the Western days, if you think about like some of those stories you've seen on TV or whatever, like even Westerns, those movies, without knowing an actual story, it was about, there's the bad guys come in and shoot up town until there's a sheriff in town and he's got a gun. Or some of the Clint Eastwood ones, which I love, where everybody in town's got a gun, and then suddenly the bad guys don't want to come to town,
right?
Because they know if they go into town, instead of terrorizing everybody there is going to shoot back. Right. So it's even, or it's the town's population's way bigger than the bad people. So it's kind of like that same type of thing. Like why would it be any different anywhere else? That's just a simple story that most people have seen a cowboy like Western movie,
right.
And that same kind of thing, people bullying people. So if you have some way to protect yourself, then you're less likely to have that happen. But
amazing points. Yes, one of those things is what you just mentioned is common sense.
Right.
Unfortunately, even that's trying to be outlawed. They're trying to say that those words are bad.
Well,
just like patriotism. You can't say patriotism, common sense. I'm not allowed to think.
Right. Well, and the sad part is a lot of people don't have common sense. We see a lot of people, not doing the typical thing, and it's not typically something that you learn. It's kind of something that you either have or you don't have. I mean, they say that a lot of people that are book smart don't have a lot of common sense, and it's vice versa. But I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but that's, where people are like so brilliant,
right.
that they can do these, awesome physics equations or whatever. But when it comes down to doing simple tasks, they just can't think it through because their mind's not set up that way. But we all have our thing that we're strong at, and we all have weaknesses because we're all, special.
I totally agree. I was thinking that it fell in line more with the fact that a lot of people, a lot of students are indoctrinated into a particular type of learning, with a particular type of learning. So perhaps their common sense is scooped out that way. Well, at a young age.
Yeah, but it also depends on how they teach you. Before it was you wrote, you talked, you wrote on the board, you did writing assignments. That was, some of the things. And I know like different schools have taught different ways, where they try to do hands-on, because they kind of realize that, you know, like when you give classes to different people, that some people learn by doing, some people, you know, actually have to do it physically, you know, like step by step. If they touch it, they can figure it out that way, and other people learn by, you know, seeing it or hearing it. Right. Everybody learns differently, so I mean, I get that part, but it just seems that, you know, it's discouraged, and then it doesn't help. The, you know, the curriculum has changed, where there's a lot less hands-on things. Even some schools I've heard, you know, they don't really have like gymnasium or, you know, PE. There's less of that, and that's still a development skill. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because I just think of all the things that I learned as a kid growing up. You know, I'm pretty handy or decently athletic. I'm not great, but if I didn't have that and it was just school things, you know, then you kind of get discouraged, because everybody has a strength, and if you don't have that ability to show that strength, then you feel less.
Right. Well, as a musician, I totally get that as well. I wasn't athletic.
Right.
Climb the rope, Tellini. Climb the rope. Damn it, Mr. What was his name? Julian.
Was it Julius or?
Maybe that's his last name or his first name. I couldn't climb the rope, so he would give me the, you know, he would put his feet like this on top of it and let the weak girl stand on his feet, and he would try to allow us to help us up the rope. So yeah, it was climb the rope, Tellini. If you didn't get it, you got a big goose egg for Tellini. I totally get that thing. So for me, music was my haven. The idea that I hope he's listening, you know, because damn it, I'm still not Miss Athletic, but I'll sing you under the table, buddy. You know,
This kids aren't even learning cursive.
Yeah, that to me is amazing.
You know,
the idea that.
I mean, you learn writing or whatever. I mean, granted, most people have a computer, and a lot of, you know, jobs are computer related. But when the power goes out, what do you do if you can't add with a calculator, and you can't type up whatever your assignment is? You know, shouldn't you be able to write? Aren't like historical documents, you know, written in cursive? I think of the Constitution or other documents.
Beautiful.
Are written, you know, in cursive. I went to a baby shower before, and people were opening the card saying, "I can't read what's in the card. I need someone to read it for me because it's in cursive."
Oh no!
And it's not even that long ago since they stopped teaching it.
So that goes right along with their agenda to not be able to read the Constitution.
Well, what's being substituted in
your
there?
rights. Right.
I mean, when you're a kid, you learn how to print, and then you start to learn cursive. What class is there instead? Yeah, I don't know, but I'm just saying, you know, it's a skill. Other than that, some people write beautifully, and that might be their talent.
Oh, look at calligraphy.
Right.
Look at Japanese writing. What are the
the characters.
For the right now, I can't remember the words, but absolutely beautiful.
Is that you also had like that other outlet? There was like choir, even if it was a class where it was music.
You had
a music class, and they offered choir. It was in during the thing. You could be in it, or you didn't have to be in it, but it gave you an outlet. Even it was something to look forward to, or being on recess. What kid didn't really love recess? You know what I mean? But it's less of that.
They don't still have recess now?
I don't know, but I'm just saying an example, you know.
Oh, right.
That, you know, those were all things that I know, you know, curriculum has changed. So other than that, I saw that there was this whole thing about Facebook. Did you see about the you know, hours that they were down?
I experienced some of it myself.
Okay.
I know, I heard that, you know, rumors that this is, you get the different tweets from everybody that say, if you don't have some sort of a blue link, if your profile doesn't turn blue, you will pay money, all these different things.
They always are saying that like you're going to pay money.
So for me, I just take them with a grain of salt.
Right. Well, a lot of people were over on Twitter, wondering about the outage, and people kept trying to log in. But some people are wondering if it's tied to the whole thing where they've been reviewed about the data breaches. I don't know if you've heard about the data breaches where supposedly Facebook has been sharing illegally people's private information without their knowledge. So all Facebook users, their personal private information, whether it's messages or etc., things that they posted online, is shared with many companies. For example, Amazon, the phone companies, Samsung and Apple, Sony, etc., and they're sharing the data and like selling it, so that way you could view what people looked at, or personal communications, pictures, whatever. And a lot of people think like it's private, but that's just showing that it's not. So I know that that's been a big issue that was being looked at it, but it said there was 150 partners in total, and this is not just in the U.S., it's worldwide. And then there's the other thing that people have been complaining for months is that a lot of the conservative views are their Facebook live feeds have been not showing the likes that they normally should have.
I'll
They're not
literally
being
see
shared.
them disappear on mine.
Yeah, not being shared.
Definitely.
Or instead of being on the top when you just put it out as a feed, it's going lower in people's feeds.
I know they talk about the algorithms, this and that, but definitely I will see some of them actually disappear. I will, not only my likes, I'll see posts disappear, all sort of things. One of the other platforms out there that a lot of people don't know about is that MeWe.
Okay.
We actually have it around the curve table, MeWe. Join us on there. That is actually just kind of budding this past year. I know Doug Giles is on there with Worse and Wildman, one of my favorite podcasts in the world. And you can see them on there as well.
Other than that, I heard rumors that a new type of social media is like Spreely is supposed to be starting, where it's like
that's exciting.
Speak freely. So it will be that you always have the right to talk no matter what it is, as long as it's respectful.
That's
and it's not
MeWe
violence.
That's what,
it's that same kind of deal. So I don't know if that's another startup, but it seems like a lot of different companies are
that's
good
to
really
know there are
pushing
other
their
options
things.
out there.
Right, because a lot of people have problems with that, or even with YouTube.
Right, and to me that's one of those things. If the idea that they can steal your identity, and now that people are actually cashing in on people's IRS checks and things like that, get yourself a what's that, Lock Life or whatever it is. We won't say the name, but get yourself something to cover in case you do have some sort of ID fraud.
Oh yeah.
And I make sure that I had that for the past couple of years, especially being on the internet. They say, oh, you have been detected on the dark web.
Oh, I've had my name show up before. I've
had
my name show up before on the dark web. I got like, like my work. They mentioned that to me.
And I don't think it's as cool as it is on the show Arrow, which is also one of my favorites.
Oh, okay.
But it'll talk about that sort of thing. So okay. What else you got?
How about the Obama era Defense Intelligence Agency officer pleaded guilty in connection to transmission of documents to China.
Okay.
So it's like it's like a China gate of its own, but it's not the same China gate you've heard of in the past. But that was the other one. But there wasn't really that many people talking about that. They were just saying that that he was found guilty about that. But
well, what was the other thing? The Obama administration, with a lot of people don't even realize. The reason why our agenda changed, or why the narrative changed, was because I believe it was 2016 that that the government is allowed to propagate propaganda.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that before, so I don't really know too much about that.
But
yeah, I've heard that with the NDAA.
Right.
But
it amazes me. I think we'll have to have a show about this, because you see what happened in World War II as far as their propaganda, and then what they try to do now. They try to call a conservative voice a fascist voice, when actually the socialist voice is a fascist voice. The extreme opposite of what they're trying to tell us. So yeah, that'll be. I'll do a little bit more homework and look into that whole thing. But the idea that it all started at the end of his term.
Okay.
When our new president came in.
Okay.
And then he's obviously easy enough to be manipulated in the media.
Right. Well, it was a while back, but going along with that, there were some videos going on online where people were showing that different news stations from around the country running the same wording
exactly
through their stories.
The same wording.
So it was like they were showing the different video clips of, CBS, NBC,
right.
all different types of media stations that were just saying exactly the same words. So that kind of ties in with that when people are like, no, that's not happening. How do hundreds of news agencies around the country say exactly the same wordings if they're news stories that they wrote themselves? The likelihood of even three of them writing the same words.
I got to jump in here on that one. It amazed me when they said 7 new types of cloud formations, 7 new types of cloud formations, 7 new types of cloud formations. And when you break it down, the Latin of those cloud formations was actually talking about man-made clouds. Their whole thing was, again, that's a topic for another day.
Right.
Blue skies. When I was a child, I know blue skies. That's not what I see now.
Wow.
But again, topic for another day.
Right, exactly. So, but it's still about the wording. So, the likelihood that 2 people have a conversation and say exactly the same thing.
They were even saying happy birthday to the same person at the same time on 30 networks.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was absolutely ridiculous. So yes, they definitely had they set the narrative for their own personal agenda, and then they just twist the media and the idea that our mainstream news or our mainstream news is not allowed to. They specifically regulated what those people were to say. Everybody else they just call alternative media.
Right. Well, the thing is, a lot of them use teleprompters, and there's a teleprompter company out there that helps to feed those things. Whether it's Avid or a different teleprompter company. So if you're using the same software that's prompting your words, you can easily have the same language.
Right.
So, other than that, I had heard recently that there was additional Clinton emails that were found on, that weren't submitted. When she testified under oath that she submitted all of her emails, and that they came out before in the past with how many, they said, I can't remember how many Comey had said on the thing, X amount of, classified emails were found, and they, poo-pooed that. But recently, in the last few weeks, more emails have been found through Judicial Watch, putting in a request, a FOIA request. Oh. So these were not in the emails, even though it was said that all the emails were turned in to them. So that wasn't really good. So they were able to recover 1/5 of the 5,000 emails,
From the bathroom server?
Yeah, from the bathroom server. So, but that's just adding to the past stories that we kind of talked about a little bit in the past. But in Illinois, and I know some other states have been doing the same thing. Some counties within Illinois, not Cook County, of course, have been passing Second Amendment banning legislation. So you know how they're becoming gun sanctuary cities.
Okay.
So in case the state of Illinois passes any gun bans.
Oh, I see.
Their counties will not comply with those. Okay. And there's if you look at most of the state, most of the southern parts of the counties in Illinois have went to the, sanctuary gun policies.
Okay.
And it's starting to spread more. But that's definitely been the case because in the news has been the wanting to put forth a couple of things. One, always the push is trying to ban guns. Right. And then the red flag gun laws, where Illinois already has that ridiculous law where it says that somebody can just call and put in a complaint and they, despite them not looking into anything, they can just ban you from having your gun for so long, etc., because someone's worried about your mental state.
Right.
So does that mean I can use that loophole this way? I want to bother my ex whatever.
Right.
And I know they have protection against them, so I have someone put a complaint out against them saying under that red flag law.
Who's to say they couldn't do that?
They can't defend themselves, and now I can go and attack them. They don't have a way to defend themselves with their gun.
Right.
I can overpower them.
Well, and then you had toxic masculinity as a mental health disease.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. So just with the red flag gun laws, I know that was something that was being viewed at recently, and then other states have been passing similar things, which is going against our Second Amendment rights,
Right. One thing I do want to point out is that it's not just about my voice. It's not about your voice.
No, we all have to speak up.
We do. Ladies at home that are listening, we want to hear from you. Mm-hmm. These are topics that need to be discussed. I feel like...
Well, a lot of people are afraid to share their opinion with friends and family.
That's true.
But you can gently, talk to somebody, just put your words in. It doesn't have to be confrontational or anything.
Right.
And just get them thinking about a different point of view.
Well, that's my thing. While we have the challenge coming up, that these ladies can get together, whether it be weekly or monthly, get your circle of ladies together, and get your topics going. Discuss the important things that are going on around the world, whether it be your need for vaccines or over-vaccinating or the politics, whatever your realm, whatever your forte is, we want to hear from you. Send us your photos around the curved table. We want to see your table. I want to see home tables. Do up your table. Give me a beautiful centerpiece.
Whatever you like.
However you want to do it. Of course, they're going to be over the top because we are ladies. So for us, it is another way to show our creativity. Right. But of course, that's the big thing. We want you to give us your feedback. So send in your submissions to us. Around the Curve, Gwendy at aroundthecurvetable.net. That's GWENDY at aroundthecurvetable.net. Or join us on Facebook. And be sure to like us, subscribe, and or download the app. We're looking forward to it.
What's our Facebook page?
Our Facebook page is Around the Curve Table, just in case you didn't know. And I heard Nikki's got some t-shirts on the way, so we'll see about that. Special, oh my God, special thanks to Jamie Allman for inviting us. So be sure to stop by. Common Sense Nation, we are.